It's time for Supply Chain Now. Broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Heard around the world, Supply Chain Now spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton and Greg White here with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's show. On today's show, we're talking with a business leader from an organization that is on a mission to be the best at solving complex problems, especially for manufacturers. So stay tuned for what should be a very informative discussion that will raise your supply chain IQ. Greg White, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I think this is going to continue quite a streak we've been on, huh?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I feel like my supply chain IQ has already been increased from previous episodes today, but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to John. Oh man, I did it again. I gave up the guest before we named him. Sorry.
That's okay, because we're almost there.
Okay, good.
Only a quick programming note before we get to introducing our featured guest that we're looking forward to. So on that quick programming note, before we get started, hey, if you enjoyed today's episode, we invite you to check out the rest of our podcast programming. We publish new episodes at least Monday through Friday, as our aim is to cover the global end-to-end supply chain. Find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. All right, Greg White, with no further ado, let's bring in our featured guest, Mr. Juhn Buglino, Director of Marketing with Optessa. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Scott. And Greg, how's everything with you guys?
We're doing well. Good to talk to you again.
Absolutely.
You know, this show has been in the works. John, you and your team have been, gosh, y'all have, I don't think you've been sleeping at night. Y'all have really, despite some challenging sets of circumstances that most companies are enduring, y'all really have grown, and you've got a lot of projects and developments taking place. We're going to dive more into that momentarily. But great to finally get you back into the studio here at Supply Chain Now.
Thank you for having me, and it's great to be here.
All right. So, Greg, you and I really were enjoying some of the athletic stories John was sharing just pre-show.
That's right.
We'll see if we can't dive into that
carry
a
that
little
into
more.
the show. Yeah.
But, John, for starters, tell us, if you would, let's get our audience to have the opportunity to get to know you as much as Greg and I have enjoyed. So tell us where you're from, and you know, you got to give up the goods. Give us a story or two from your upbringing.
All right. Yeah. So I was actually born in Staten Island, New York, and still have family there. But my parents moved when I was 11 months old, and I've been living in New Jersey, central New Jersey, Monmouth County ever since. I have a beautiful family, 2 boys and a wife of 10 years that keep me in check and keep me in line and active. And I would say, you know, over the course of the 10 years, my wife continues to be boggled by the fact that I just cannot stand whipped cream in any form. Going to weddings was particularly problematic because, you know, they bring up the strawberry shortcake and everyone's like, oh, have a piece of cake. And I'm like, no, I'm good. No,
Really?
thanks.
You don't like whipped cream?
No, I do not. Not at all.
Flavor
I'm not a very
texture or
picky.
what?
I think it's just a texture thing. And I think when I was younger, I think I expected to be something different, and I was completely let down. And ever since, I won't touch it. My boys love it. My wife loves it, and just not me.
Wow.
Not for me at all. Yeah. So that's always a fun thing. You know, we go to barbecues and things like that. And no, thank you. I'll pass.
No pie in the face for you then.
No,
right?
Please no. I will run very far in the other direction.
So you mentioned your family, and when you think about your upbringing, clearly born in New York and spending a lot of your formative years in New Jersey, what have you been able to share with your 2 children that you've really, obviously it's not whipped cream, but what have you really enjoyed during your upbringing that you're now able to share with your 2 kids?
I'm very active. I was always active with my father when he was either building something or doing something outside. I was constantly on his heels, you know, over his shoulder, probably more in the way than helping, you know, but I thought I was helping. And, you know, I'm starting to see that with my 2 boys. Every time I go outside and do any kind of yard work or project around the house, you know, they're right at my heels, and I'm explaining things to them. And, you know, while they're in the way at times, you know, it's good because I want them to learn, I want them to see, and I want them to, you know, gain those experiences. And I think that's a lot of what I do, even in my professional life, is just grow through experience. And, and if you have to learn by, watching countless videos until you get it right, or if you have to pay someone to at least show you at first, but then you do it your own the next time around. I think it's very important to get that experience and get in there to really learn about things, and it helps you grow. And then, later on in life, it'll be, oh yeah, I remember how to do that one day. And I remember my dad taught me this. So constant life lessons, and just continuing to just experience things and new things every day.
That's really good. Learn by getting in the way. I like that. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much how we've all done it, I think, right? And
Mhm.
it wasn't until we were adults or parents that we realized we were really in the way. And if you didn't realize that until you were an adult, your parents did a great job, right, of convincing you were actually helping.
I love that. So one other quick question, because Greg, we're going to dive into John's professional journey. But if you could, John, foreshadow it a bit from your schooling. Why do you think you're in manufacturing, supply chain technology, greater in supply chain now, based on something you love to do as a kid or a student or what have you?
Yeah, I think it's again going back to just learning through experience. And I think there's just I've always gravitated towards marketing, branding, and just showcasing companies, and making sure that their value is properly portrayed, to the greater audience and communities, and just getting the word out there. And even studying at Seton Hall, and just gravitating towards those courses, and just understanding like consumer behavior, buying behaviors, trends, analysis, analyzing data, things that are happening around you at all times. And I think, supply chain, there's constantly things, take the pandemic out of it, there's always a lot going on. And all this pandemic has done is accelerated a number of things around supply chain. And I think it's just a great time to be a part of it. I think there's a lot of resources available. There's a lot of content going around. And I think this is an excellent time to learn, and like definitely time to experience. And also, this is, again, something that, we're not all accustomed to, but we're going to learn or make some mistakes. But at the end of the day, this too shall pass, and we'll all be better for it.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, we're learning by getting in the way, right? Right now,
Absolutely.
strangely. Well, that's cool. And I really appreciate that learning spirit. First of all, you're teaching, right? And recognizing how you learned and how to continue to learn. So that's really important. And you're right, man, this is such an incredible space right now, as if it wasn't before, but now people actually know what we do, John. So
I know. Secrets out, Greg.
right. I know we're going to actually have to perform, because we can't just say we do that magic that nobody really understands anymore.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about your professional journey, right? After you stopped helping, I'm doing air quotes, John, after you stopped helping your dad, tell us a little bit about kind of where you came from, how your career progressed till you got to, to your current role.
Right out of college, right out of Seton Hall, landed a job doing focus group marketing. And it was basically just brands coming to us and having questions answered about, what color do they want the next, ice pop to be, and what's the next flavor combination, things like that. And it turned out to be a little bit more of an internship, temporary kind of piece there, and, kind of just get some experience, learned a little bit, made some friends, and, made some connections. My first real corporate job was with New York Community Bank, and I was their marketing assistant. And, that was like my first real, like, oh, corporate America, here I am. And I just want to do a good job, and I want to just run through every wall that they give me. I'm not even going to climb over. I'm just going to run through them, and do such a great job. And, I again learned and had some great mentors and individuals I still speak to this day, coach me and help me nurture my professional experiences and help me and guide me along the way. I would say my first real marketing experience where I really dove into lead generation, demand generation, and branding is when an HR technology provider based locally in New Jersey. And when I started with the company, we were the underdog in the space, and the goal of the company was to become number one in space.
Wow.
And I was with that company for almost 4 years. And in that time, we went from the underdog to top 3 to now today, they are the number one provider of applicant tracking software in the HR space. And I'm telling you right now, there's no one that's even close to them. And learned, I can't even tell you the amount of lessons I learned with that company, and the individuals that I work with there, and the team I built, and the team I lost, and the team that I still talk to today. Those relationships are just sticking with me, and I just, can't thank any of them enough for what's going on. The biggest and the most humbling part of that journey was, it always felt like I had to be the smartest person in the room, and you always had to be on your game, and you always had to be worried about everyone else but yourself. But when I surrounded myself with people that were smarter than me, I realized that we were stronger, and I was able to just leverage and get more out of the team around me than me just doing it as an individual contributor. Early in my career, I found that when I was, running through those walls, like I mentioned, I found myself in empty rooms and by myself at the other side of it. And there was no one around me. I had no one to celebrate success with. I had no one that, I could talk to. I just felt I was on the top, but it was lonely at the top, So when I've learned that to build a team and build a core around me, it protected me. It also made me grow, made me a better manager, made me a better person professionally. And, I still carry those lessons. When I left that company, I worked for another individual company, and we were working on hermetic packages and in that industrial space. And again, I can't even tell you the life lessons I learned there, and the people I met, and their business acumen was unmatched than anything I've ever seen. And now with Optessa, it's the same thing. I'm taking all those lessons that I've learned from, that young marketing assistant running through the walls to that marketing manager collaborating with teams of 10, 12 people, to now back to building with a company that, again, the sky's the limit. We're reaching high, and we're hitting goals, and we're getting more active, and we're doing things that others are not doing. And, that's something that I'm proud of, and that's something I'm going to continue to do.
That's a really great recognition, right? You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I've found it often that person who's completely comfortable with being the dumbest person in the room, and somehow you look at them and go, they're not dumb. They're questioning whatever it is we're discussing. Somehow, did I fail to describe that properly? And I think people take that spirit. They take that, clearly this person is trying to help solve problems with us, not for us. And
right.
It becomes a great collaborative environment. That's a really mature discovery. And I think that's a really good lesson for everyone out there. Tell us a little bit about Optessa. So tell us what the company does. And then I'd like to understand, what is it you do all day?
I do so much. Greg.
Yes. As far as anyone knows, you do so much. Yeah. No, that's great. No, tell us a little bit about Optessa, and then your job is never what your job description is. So I'm always fascinated to know what else you do.
And Optessa, we are an advanced planning and scheduling software provider, and our best clients are complex manufacturers that are struggling with optimization, whether that's planning, scheduling, sequencing. We're just using our software to make their lives easier, gain efficiencies, save money, and just improve their day-to-day to new heights. There's just more and more that our customers are able to do, and things that they never even thought they could do before implementing our software. And a lot of what I've been doing on a day-to-day, don't let my wife tell you all I do is play on social media all day, but a lot of it is the branding, building the brand, building a community around you, making sure that you're continually providing value. And it's not all about selling. You can sell till you're blue in the face, but I'm telling you right now, you're just going to be, you're going to be alone. You have to continue to provide value to your community as you're building it, and they will find you. Everyone knows you have a website, or you have some method of contacting the company to learn more, or a demo and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about building that community around you, continuing to engage, and be there for them through their struggles, understand what their needs are, and hopefully you're the one that they choose to actually solve those issues and problems. Fortunate enough to do that for very large global auto OEMs, complex manufacturers around the world have seen this value, and we're building that community around it to provide more value and to tell more about our story to hopefully land more customers and increase our use of software.
I have to ask this question because something you said earlier made me think about this, and that is they're doing more than they ever thought they could. So what is that aha moment that, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I could do this? Or what is that aha moment? Or when someone, I love asking this question. If I am in my office, probably home office right now, right? But if I'm in my office and I've got some sort of pain on my mind or a problem or a nagging, I know I've got a problem, but I don't know what the solution is. What is that if I call Optessa, I'm going to have that aha moment? Oh my gosh, I didn't know I could attack it that way. I didn't know that could be the solution. I didn't know this is what they could do for me.
It's exactly what you said. Like everyone that's sitting there in their office, wherever that may be, work from anywhere here. It's when you have that moment, you go, there has to be a better way. That's where we come in, and there is a better way. I can sit here and I can tell you, we have patented algorithms that are helping our software and power behind the scenes, but there are so many little things that our software can do to improve your day-to-day. Example would be eliminate spreadsheets. You have individuals that are sitting there with manual manipulation of spreadsheets to accomplish schedules, whether that's a workforce or overtime or just scheduling that one line in an assembly line. Doing that manually is painstakingly manual, and there's so much room for error. And if those errors do come up, now you have to redo all that work, and you have to redo all these different pieces, and you could lose days, even weeks with, errors that we have seen with our customers. And, we have those moments, and yes, there is, and, there's always that apprehension with software. It's like, oh, here we go. We got to buy more, and it's more an investment. But we've actually have been able to show value to our potential clients before we even sign a deal. So in the proof of concepts that we do complete, we're able to show that value even before we get a full look at the data or the plan or the schedule or what the current situation is in that manufacturing facility. And we help them have those aha moments, and we help them realize that there is a better way.
That is great. I have to say, quote the great Jerry Maguire, you had me at spreadsheets. We've talked a lot about that, John. I'm sure you have too, that in this time, right, so many companies have manual processes or spreadsheet-driven processes. And if they survive this seismic societal disruption, right, this incredible disruption of business, I hope they apply the lesson that they could not manage it with a spreadsheet very quickly after this into solutions that are more systemic. As you said, they're more sustainable and accountable because the data isn't in a spreadsheet or a cell of a spreadsheet or being manipulated by a formula in a spreadsheet. It exists somewhere as a core value that can be pulled out and managed and manipulated, but maintained in its pristine state. So that's really good. That's a really good perspective. All right, Scott, I know you got a question.
Well, once you go beyond spreadsheets, you lose me, Greg. So I defer to you and John, the technology gurus of the conversation. Hey, John, I really admire what you were saying earlier about building that community, building the relationships, even in this, work from home digital era we're in. I was chatting just earlier today with another marketing leader, another marketing powerhouse for a different technology organization, and he was speaking the same language. And he also went on to say how counterintuitively that you can really build relationships during this time, unlike what they had predicted, say, at the end of 2019. So if you could just expound a little bit more on this, clearly building a sense of community is so important to what you're leading there and what Optessa is doing. Could you expound just a little bit more on that for us?
And it goes beyond all these Zoom meetings and all these other meetings that people are having, and they have this meeting fatigue and things like that are happening, while people are, kind of tethered to their desk or their mobile device to gather information. I think there's an unbelievable time right now to provide value and build that community, because If you are consistently every day working to provide content, news, insights, interviews, and just give people small bite-sized takeaways or conversation starters and things that are happening in the industry, they're going to keep coming back for more. And it's going to help you build that credibility and get individuals to talk about your brand when you're not around, to gravitate to your website, to your blog, to your social channels, to see, what did I miss? What did I miss? What do I need to know? How do I start my day? How do I end my day? And I think that's a lot of what's coming out here. And there's no shortage of content out there, so you do have to apply a couple of filters to make sure, you're not just drowning in recaps and updates from your favorite channels. But I think you apply the right filters. And I think if you just continue to funnel that to your community, they're going to come to you and they're going to rely on you. And there's going to be conversations that happen on a daily basis that are not on meetings, are not on the phone. They're going to be through social channels, direct messages, and things like that. And it's a completely different way to communicate. It's changing the way I market. It's changing the way I go about my day. Going back February this year to now, I can tell you I've done 5 different things, at least 5 things differently in February than I do today. And
Wow.
Where I gather my news, how I communicate with my team, how I communicate with my community, and the initiatives that we're working on and things that are coming out very, very soon. These all in response to what's been going on over the last 30, 60, 90 days. And we're going to be better for it at the end of the day.
Love that. All right. But one constant has not changed since February is no Cool Whip, right?
You better believe it.
All right. So John, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pulling on some conversations we had way back when we first met. And if I'm not mistaken, Optessa has grown largely organically without a huge investment in sales and marketing because of word of mouth within the industry. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So how exciting it's got to be, especially as you and your role as director of marketing, leading these efforts of taking this history of making things happen, solving these complex problems, finding that better way and getting that out. I bet you've got no shortage of content, and we've seen that. Whether it's you appearing on our friend Sarah Barnes Humphrey, Let's Talk Supply Chain. Y'all have been a part of the Procurement Foundry stuff. It's great to see companies really invest and double down on the relationships, the community, and then of course, getting their best foot forward and the story forward, right?
It's been incredible to work, alongside you guys and those others. Sarah and Mike have been instrumental in my growth since starting Optessa, and it's been unbelievable. The last, I started in February. So think about that. I started 3 weeks before it was like, okay, everyone go home, and then it was just like, okay, work from anywhere. This is very strange, but at the same time, we've been plugging away and we've been just constantly just trying to improve. And when I started with Optessa, the biggest piece that our CEO or my CEO, Ashok Aramelli, told me was time to get out of stealth mode. You're here to get us out of stealth mode. We are too big and have too much of a valuable software to not have more people know about us. Word of mouth is great, but you can't always count on lightning striking the same spot over and over again. And we've been fortunate to land the customers that we have landed, but it's time to get out of stealth mode and tell more of our story and grow our customer base through the branding and marketing efforts that my team and I are executing upon.
Greg, that reminds me, as good as the Chiefs defense was in the run-up to the Super Bowl, Chiefs went out on the offensive, right? Because all that talent they had there and scored a ton of points. And there's some kind of analogy here to what Optessa is doing, right?
You know what I find it fascinating about, well, first of all, Scott, let me say thank you again for mentioning the Chiefs. And yes, this weekend on Father's Day, that's what I spent my afternoon doing, watching the Super Bowl for the 25th time. That is not an exaggeration. But you know what I find fascinating, John, about what you're saying is your company grew by word of mouth, and social media and the community building that you're doing is the new age word of mouth. It's just now you don't have to be in the room with those people to spread word of mouth. So it's interesting, the parallel there, and interesting how you've taken that power of the word of mouth of Optessa already and turned it in and given it a broader audience, a broader community to spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point, Greg. All right, so out of all the developments, even just since February and before that, what's one of the things, John, that you and the team have been part of that you're most proud of?
We have been in constant communication with our customers, and like always, even before, what's been going on. And I think what we're really proud of is the level of service we're providing our customers. And, I know a lot of you that are listening and a part of this community know you always have to go above and beyond for your customers. And that looks like 24/7 service, weekends, long nights, working with customers around the world. It's having those 3 a.m. conversations with their team to kind of figure out like what's going on. How do we fix this? How do we get better? And we're really partnering with our customers to pivot their manufacturing, to better understand their tier 1, tier 2, tier nth supplier, to better understand their inventory levels, what they can produce, when they can produce it. And one of the biggest takeaways from a meeting I had with one of my internal team members was we are helping companies not move 1 or 2 days worth of production plans. They're moving weeks and months of plans. And they're doing it in a fraction of the time. So going back to those spreadsheets, I couldn't even imagine the scale of which I was told of the production that's being moved and the timeliness of it and how efficient we've made it. And we've just been helping these customers prepare for when they want to go back online and prepare for when they can actually put the lights back on in their manufacturing facility safely. And it's just been unbelievable to hear. And also has been nice that the team's been recognized. Our clients from around the world have been reaching out to our team to, give kudos, congratulations, and just constant email communication going back and forth about all the great things that we're doing. And it's just been great to see. And I think the team really did, and it really is rising to the occasion. As we speak right now, they're on calls every day with the customers. And it's not even, there's no issues with the software. It's literally just trying to have them better understand what they can be doing to stay operational.
Love that.
Some of them, it's stay afloat. And some of them, it's, okay, here's what we're going to plan when we go back online in 3 weeks. Let us see what that looks like. What do we need? So we're helping them lay that foundation by providing that unmatched, customer support. And like I said, hats off to my team that's just doing it day in, day out. And, like I said, all hours of the day. And it's something that I hope more companies are doing, and I know we're going to continue to do it.
Greg, what I like there amongst what John just shared is that out of all the things, all the big developments that have been taking place where Optessa's had its name out or their thought leadership out or awareness from, you name it, just since John's been on board, his favorite part is where it's impacting the client and what they've heard back from their customers. It echoes a sentiment we had earlier today where a startup company working in manufacturing, as they look to tell their story, they're leading with their customer and their business transformation, all about the customer. So many folks get that wrong, right, Greg?
First of all, having that point of view in a company anywhere in any role is really exceptional. But I mean, John, your job's to get people in the door. Once they're in the door, they're not really your problem anymore, but that you engage with them, right? And you care, that you deliver on the promise that you make with your marketing. That speaks volumes to you, your work ethic, and of course your company's culture. So that's really cool to see. I know you're passionate about it, and it is a strange time right now in the automotive industry.
Definitely.
I'm interested in kind of what you've seen, at least what you've seen that you can share with us in terms of the disruption in the auto industry. And I know you were only 3 weeks into it when the whole thing kind of came down, but what kind of stands out at you as what's changed in the marketplace, or maybe even what surprised you about either the past conditions or the current conditions? What are you thinking about
Biggest thing, you hear about the scale of the operations with these manufacturers, looking at auto and I really, what has surprised me is coming into this industry and seeing how quickly they were able to pivot. When the call came and the world no longer needed cars, but needed other supplies, PPE, ventilators, things like that. It may have seemed like it took forever, from an outsider point of view, but from the inside, it was daily that you saw these changes being made and the foundational work being done in these facilities, and the training and the collaboration was just unbelievable to get that, to the finish line. And now we have to get them back to what they were producing before. I know we're not out of the woods with the current situation, but now it's, how do we safely get these plants back and operational? How do we get the workforce back? How do we get the lines running again and running the way they were 90 days ago? And I think the versatility of that industry, I know it will take a little bit of time for it to correct itself, from a bottom line standpoint. But I mean, again, I just commend the entire crews of all these customers and manufacturers of how they were able to quickly pivot amidst these insurmountable odds and deliver on what was needed during these times. And that just always surprises me, and it has surprised me. And that's just one example. And I think too many people take for granted that, it'll happen. Give it time, it'll happen. But then there's people that actually are making it happen. And it's unbelievable to be a part of and to hear about and be a part of it are two totally separate things.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you kind of a dichotomous question. And that is, if you have to look back in retrospect or look into your crystal ball into the future, what really has your attention right now? I mean, whether it's even in your industry or whether it has to do with supply chain or even marketing, what has got your attention and what are you fixated on has your brain power focused towards it?
Right now, and my conversation with all the leaders at Optessa, we're very much focused on Industry 4.0 or Factory of the Future, or however you want to call it, and how we are going to play in that part of the acceleration of Industry 4.0 and what we can do to help organizations go to the dark factory. And it's not that it's a dark factory because nothing's happening. It's a dark factory because the machines and everything is operating with a third of the workforce in there managing what's going on there.
Right.
And I think a lot of what's happening now is we are working to really showcase that Optessa is a building block as a part of a company's Industry 4.0 plan. Right? You have to have a plan. You have to understand that Industry 4.0 is coming. I think this pandemic is accelerating that a little bit. I think there's a lot more that's being done around it. And I think it's also laying, going back to, spreadsheets, the apprehension of going forward with software has to go out the door. There has to be, and there is a better way to do these things. And, people just need to continue to educate themselves on the value that software providers can give. And I think looking at it from a capital investment standpoint and what people are doing, what their current tech stack is, you have to find those integrations. You have to find those providers. And I'm not saying it's Optessa, I know there's others in the space, don't get me wrong, but we're doing the work and helping. And we are not looking to replace systems. We're looking to, it's the age old, we're bolting on. We're going to bolt onto the systems. We're going to improve it. And we're going to show you the efficiencies you can gain. We can prove it out to you. We will spend the time to prove it out. So I think Industry 4.0 being that building block for organizations and allowing us to be added onto the tech stack to improve efficiencies and save money and time and workforce and all things considered, I think is something that is on my radar, is something that we're continually looking to provide value on and content on, and it's something that I think is coming sooner than later, even given the state of what's going on now.
I come from the planning and the forecasting space, but for retail, right? Retail and distribution and
Right.
Consumer goods manufacturing. So I get exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it's a little surprising to me, companies that are still working with spreadsheets, but even bragging about working with spreadsheets. Not long after this pandemic started, a
Right.
major German car manufacturer was bragging about this amazing new solution they had with spreadsheets. And I just thought, okay, I hope that if they survive this, they're smart enough to mature from that at some point. And I think you're right. I'm wondering out loud, and maybe you have an answer to this, or at least a thought on it, John, is I wonder if this hasn't even changed the perspective or the shape of what Industry 4.0 will look like in the future.
I hope it does. I hope it does change a little bit. And like I said, I hope it gets accelerated. And I really feel, I love that example. And, I had the same kind of, grin on my face when I saw that first time. I was just like, oh man, there's a better way, going back to it, like there is a better way. But, sometimes you got to fall flat on your face and, got to take a lot of lumps before you learn to do better. And, like I said, there's a lot of apprehension when it comes to new software or changing or, getting out of your own way of, a new way of doing things. And, if more people are open to it and just give people the chance to actually showcase and show the value, I think it'd be untapped potential, what can be done. And, like I said, I really just hope that it shines a light that there is something better coming and that it's not something scary and it's going to be a way to improve. And, we're going to improve in one area and it's just going to open up time for us to improve in other areas. You're just going to shift your time to do something that you haven't been able to do before. And it's going to lead to continual improvement and just optimization and efficiencies gained. And it's going to be having sitting there going, I can't believe we did that for so long that way. And I would never want to,
How did we ever survive without it?
How did we ever do that? Exactly. Yeah. Have those moments of like, man, I cannot believe we did that, and I hope we're there sooner than later, to be honest with you.
So 3 undeniable truths, I believe. I think number 1, folks will continue to cling to their spreadsheets. Number 2, we are moving, and you were both were talking to it. We're going to continue moving faster, and the pace at meeting the customers' demands, the sheer demands themselves, the speed at which we have to not just react, but get out in front of things, all that's speeding up. And number 3 is that spreadsheet macros can only do so much. There's a time to switch over to better ways, and that's certainly what it seems like you and the Optessa team are offering and have offered for years, the industry. So I love that. We're going to have you come back on and give us an update on all the big community you're building and what else is in store for not just your team, but of course the industries that you serve. Let's make sure, Greg, that folks know how to get in touch, not just with Juhn Buglino, but also the Optessa team. So John, how can folks connect with you?
We relaunched our website, Optessa.com, so I invite you and the community to go on and check us out. We're very active, myself included, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We have a nice presence there, and again, we're building that community and providing that value. And same thing, Optessa can be found on all major social networks, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I really would invite the community to give us a follow, give us a like, engage with us. We're very active on there. You ask us a question, we'll respond to you in a timely manner. And I'm looking forward to engaging the community, and absolutely we'll love to come back on and give a progress update of all things I'm doing and all things that are happening. And, as we look to eliminate those spreadsheets and move forward to better ways, including you, Scott.
That's right, Scott.
I'm clinging to my spreadsheets. I am guilty as charged. Greg, I tell you, there's so much here that you and I could dissect for the days to come. But one thing is also inarguable, and that is the passion that John brings to the table. It is overflowing. I mean, it's easy to pick up on within the first few seconds of this interview.
Well, that and, the diverse expertise that he brings to the auto industry and the way that he has created this parallel between their current word of mouth marketing or former word of mouth marketing and how they're marketing word of mouth worldwide now and really creating that greater presence for Optessa. It's really impressive. And, and again, John, it's a testament to you and the way that you work, that you, the marketing cat, are so engaged and so caring for the customers. I think that bodes well for this company for a long, long time.
All right. Well, Juhn Buglino, Director of Marketing with Optessa, this has been a long time coming. Great to have you on the show finally. Really have enjoyed this conversation. Appreciate where kind of just your overall approach and disposition of how you're tackling this and how you tackle industry. And I wish you and the Optessa team all the best, and we'll have you back on real soon.
That's great. I really do appreciate the time, Scott and Greg. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, looking forward to the next time, and I really do appreciate it.
Get those lines rolling, John.
That's right.
We need cars.
Doing my best.
All right.
We've been talking with Juhn Buglino again with the Optessa team, and you can learn more at Optessa, OPTESSA.com. You can also find it in the show notes of today's episode. All right, so Greg, before I close this out, not to ask you the same question twice, but I'm going to come close to asking the same question twice. What was your favorite takeaway from today's conversation with Juhn Buglino?
The fact that you're taking a company that was relatively successful, right? Obviously really successful. If you look at their roster of customers, they haven't gotten them all since February, since John got here. If you think about a company that was relatively successful and how he's transformed the identity and the market reach of a company in a really, really tight market. I mean, most people on the planet can probably name the entirety of their at least OEM customer base, right? So it's a tough market, and it's really tight. And to be able to make waves and make headway in that marketplace when, as you alluded to, Scott, some people are clinging to those spreadsheets, and to help them into this new normal, to help them not only survive this current situation, but to thrive in the future. I think it's really as much a great cause as it is a great solution and company.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, you heard a lot of leadership and frankly vision from John,
Mm-hmm.
but to have company leadership say, hey, as John put it, quote, time to get out of stealth mode, end quote, go on the offensive. I mean, think about the timing that they were making that decision, and they weren't. From what I could hear, they weren't reacting in terms of timing. They weren't reacting. They were proactively saying, hey, we've got all the success, these years of success. Let's get out there and get to know more people and let more people know us. So I love those kind of stories because it's not about sitting on your laurels. It's not sitting on what's working.
Yeah.
It's about going bigger and hitting a bigger home run. So I've enjoyed this show. Always a pleasure, Greg White, as we were talking with Juhn Buglino with Optessa today. And I think on that note, we're going to close it out.
Do we have to?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Always a pleasure. And folks, hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as Greg and I both have as we chatted for the last hour with Juhn Buglino, again, Director of Marketing with Optessa. Learn more at Optessa.com. On behalf of Greg White and I, we invite you to check out all of our offerings at supplychainnowradio.com, whether they're podcasts or webinars or some of our upcoming events, you name it. However, we can deliver thought leadership to you. Of course, find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. On behalf of our entire team here, again, Scott Luton, Greg White, wishing all of our listeners nothing but the best. Hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.